and welcome Pyon back to Hunter Lodge. I still am a little bit possessed by Grace, but you know what day it is, the 2nd of April, the day after April 1st. Like every year, I like to go through all the April Fools that our games, and also some others that I noticed that I don't play or have played, have done, just so to get an idea of what kind of humor went around and also give a little bit of an opinion about it. As always, this is something done superficially, so if you enjoyed the events themselves or if you wanted to enjoy them, remember April 1st is a day about fun, so always log in and try to experience as many jokes as you can to raise up your mood a little. So first, obviously, we start with the main game of the channel, which is Princess Connect Redive. Now, Princess Connect Redive is known to do April Fools that are either extremely grandiose or extremely surprising. This year we didn't have a game or some kind of crazy event tied to the April Fools like last year. We had an announcement of a collab. Now you might say this doesn't really qualify as an April Fools because where is the punchline? So the punchline was the trailer itself, where Saigames hired a real tank to do this announcement, which actually caught me off guard because I expected it to be part 2 of the Caril minigames from 2004, I want to say. Instead, we got a collab with Girls und Panzer. Now, forget my spelling if I got it wrong. And it is incredible because we don't have an external property collab since, I guess, Red Zero, but Red Zero was also a second part of a collab that we already done, so it has been a very long while since this kind of event has happened. Last year we had Zombieland, but Zombieland is technically part of the Saigames umbrella. This time we might actually get a full-fledged big event, or maybe a raid event like last year, for Girls und Pantz. On a side note, a very funny bug happened, and this one is actually fun for me because the timing is extremely coincidental, but it did make me laugh. So technically, as I said, this is a bug, so it's not something that was done intentionally, but you guys know how the Winter Friendship Club stories aren't available because their brider hasn't gotten around to writing them. So what Saigames did is that they put a deadline for when basically those stories would show up as empty. So the deadline was yesterday, so the stories showed up as new. And so you thought, wow, okay, so they're actually available. But no, it was only because the deadline expired. And so they postponed the deadline, I believe now to 2030. Hopefully by then we will have the stories. And well, many players were caught off guard because they saw finally Jackson wrote the stories. No, he didn't. So this was, I'd say, Priconne is probably the April Fools that surprised me the most. Now, in terms of fun, obviously, a collab with a series that I don't have much knowledge of outside of the name and what's it about. It's going to be interesting, very interesting, and I like it a lot. It hypes me up. But in terms of funny, I don't think there is funny. It's like Grandmasters, you know, Grandmasters wasn't funny, but it was incredible. It's a great addition in terms of April Fools, but now who knows when or if it will be back. Like, it is something that I hope will come back at some point. Now, another game also under, or rather, let's do all the other 3 Saigames titles. Let's start with Shadowverse. So Shadowverse had a dog April Fools. Basically what they did is that they replaced all the amulets with images of dogs, and you got also, I believe, a cardback which said Shadow Dog something. It is on screen, so you guys will see it. I thought it was pretty funny. I think that for a one-day event they actually found something that worked, and if you went into the park and enjoyed it, I do think this one was quite funny for sure. Granblue Fantasy. So Granblue Fantasy did something tied with their ongoing event, which is about models, and they basically turn a bunch of characters into babies. And then they did the usual burn stuff with the new skins, etc. So the usual Granblue Fantasy. I would say this time it feels a little bit downscaled compared to previous years. What do I mean by that? So last year we had the backpack battles like game, and the previous years they also had the collabs. Now this year it is something tied to the event itself, so something similar to Gigantic Croce from last year. Not as in depth, I would say, because it is an addendum rather than the main thing, which is okay. Not bad, but not crazy as they used to from the previous years. For Uma Musume Pretty Derby, so on global I couldn't find anything. I assume this is because we are out of sync with the schedule, so probably the April Fool's event will come on another day, and so I couldn't evaluate it yesterday, so I can't say much. For the Japanese version instead, they did something similar to us. They did a collab with a mascot that does a song, something cool, which also had 6 characters get outfits which will be turned into merch. I think, again, like Priconne, cool that they did a collab. In this case it's not even in the game, I believe so. So it is just more merch. I guess worse than Priconne, still kind of something, I guess. More announcement than joke. Now let's go into what used to be a heavy hitter and kinda was disappointing this year, Dragon Ball Legends. So while Dokkan had the Saibamen becoming playable, the low rarity ones, which was kinda cool, I guess, Legends went for making also a Saibamen event, but in this case Saibamen with lettuce on their head. And you got a character that is playable like every year, Farmer Goku. So why I say it's disappointing? So the concept is fire, Farmer Goku, cool, it is a unique character, but the animations are recycled. The character is Goku and not an original like Tao Pai Pai or Pui Pui from the year before, or even Raditz, I guess, was kind of unique. And is also good, but another Goku in Goku teams where there are way better Gokus. It's not a character like the previous years. Still, the story was funny with Nappa and those Saibamens, and getting a character that does something even outside of his event is always something good. Obviously, Legends meta in PvP right now is a hell, so this Goku probably won't see out of play after this season ends, since his boost will be over, but still something. In terms of funny, it is funny. I do think it was funny. Now for Honkai Star Rail and the MiHoYo games in general. So Honkai Star Rail is probably the one that I noticed the most that did something that was funny, because they spent a lot of resources into doing it. From what I saw, they did a Rickroll video. So what is a Rickroll? If you guys don't know, basically when you ask something, a link for something, someone puts the link and then it redirects you into this song from Rick Astley. So Rickroll is why the name takes from the singer. And they had Sparksy, which is Sparkle Alt, which I should have gotten, but I've been a little bit disappointed with Honkai, so I haven't played it a lot lately, but I probably will go back to it very soon. Sparksy sings the song, we have all characters from the new world dancing, which was funny. This is probably the funniest April Fools so far, tied with the Shadowverse one. The Shadowverse one is more in-game, this one is more outside the game, but it is funny. Like, the idea itself is good, I did like it a lot. Now, for Genshin and Zinless Zone Zero, I actually didn't find anything noteworthy. From what I heard, their April Fools was about artifacts and those relics that ZZZ uses, which, okay, I guess nothing really that interesting compared to Honkai Star Rail, so I would probably say those are the worst. When they do something minimal just to say, okay, there is an holiday, but they put no effort, and it's not even funny, like there isn't anything funny. So, okay. Pokemas, Pokemon Mastery X, nothing, but a note, there was supposed to be an April Fool's event. From what I researched, apparently because of the Pokemon Center tragedy that happened recently, they decided, you know, not the time for a joke, which is understandable. When there are those situations, it is probably better to take even comedy with a pinch of salt, especially when it's a game aimed for younger people. So it's not like you can do crazy stuff even under such a situation, especially when the game is mainly popular in Japan. Fate Grand Order. So Fate Grand Order, I would say more of the usual. This time there was no outside up in Japan, which was a little bit disappointing since those unique games are always fun. But they did replace all of the character sprites in-game, not the model by the way. The sprite is the little image that you have during battle, with the Riyo shibis. They also added a camera mode so you could take photos, etc. It was kind of cool. For the global server they did a flash game which was like Angry Birds, so it was... I would say this was funny, like the Angry Birds one was cool. Like there wasn't a gallery for the flash game, which was a little bit disappointing compared to last year, but it was high effort compared to everything so far, which probably will get into my conclusion later on what I think about this year, which is okay. Fire Emblem Heroes and Fire Emblem Shadows did something together. I believe it is this video, cinematic video that they did together, so they said, you know, let's do one thing together and call it a day. I would say for Fire Emblem Shadows, good that it has on April Fools. For Fire Emblem Heroes, more low effort after a year where they kinda were tiptoeing around doing less. I guess the game is old, it has to end eventually. They decided to end it in these 3 years as we reach the final book. So probably good that it has something, I guess. Still, like, I loved the old Fire Emblem Heroes April Fools. Like, especially the one with Asker doing the fitness dance, etc. I found that quite funny, so it is okay. Like, nothing crazy, but better than some that we've seen, like Genshin or ZZZ, so it is okay. Then we have Tensura Isekai Memories. They did... I'm actually surprised by how minor it was for Tensura. So basically, you log in, you get a login bonus from this small event. There are slimes in the in your home, basically. That's it. Like, I tried to find something, I found nothing, so I guess that's it. And I guess it's funny because the slimes, differently colored, etc., are funny, but it's not something that I would lose my brain about, either in surprise or in shock. Other than that, I believe those are the main games that I want to cover. There are also some mentions, let's put it that way. Ever Crisis gave everyone models in polygon reminiscent of the original game. I think that was like, that's a cool one. It's not funny, but it's a cool one. I actually would reinstall the game just to get those costumes. Blue Archive did something like a video about a dating sim for the bosses of Total Assault. I guess that's okay. And then I saw something else like Limbus Company made the characters smaller, etc. Nothing too crazy compared to the ones that I listed, which probably are the biggest one on the channel. Which one did I find the best? Okay, so you kinda grasped it by now. Honkai Star Rail was probably the funniest outside the game. Shadowverse was probably the funniest inside the game. Priconne was probably the most surprising one as a sort of, is this real, is this not real? I still have my doubts on whether it's real or not, but it seems to be real, so I look forward to the collab. Anyway, that's it for this year. My April Fools was the Grace one. I actually was thinking of doing something with Honey-Chan, but I went for Grace instead because I like the event a lot. If you guys couldn't tell, I am a huge Grace fan. I thought the event was actually quite serious compared to what I expected. Like, it was a crazy event in terms of narrative, character growth, and the scenes, but it also had funny aspects that are part of Grace's character. Like, it was a humor that was inside the character rather than being injected into the narrative. So I like to focus on this aspect outside of the event and make it a joke for the channel. That's it. Let's hope next year will be even better. I thought this year was a little bit tame, a lot of videos, a lot of outside the game stuff. many that were very big and funny April Fools felt a little bit undertone. I guess not every year can be peak, as one says. Let's hope 2027 April Fools will be even better then. This has been Until Launch, thank you very much for watching. As always, remember to smash that like or that subscribe button, or if you want to support the channel more, you can join the community as a large supporter, or use a super thanks below your Until Launch favorite video. I will see you next year, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully you had a smile or even a heartily laugh.